I've spoken to a lot of young guys recently, reaching out about various parts of their culture and society. They know it's doing them harm, but they just they don't want to be the odd man out. So what I've noticed is we've got a drinking culture in young teens that has been normalised. I've even had some clients that are drinking a lot of alcohol from as young as 15. And 16, 17 seems to be quite common, and their parents have even taken them to the doctors, and the doctors said, "Oh, it's natural because they're young." It's incredible how we're normalising these things. I even spoke to a guy whose daughter was bringing home a different man every weekend, and he was laughing, saying those guys are such mugs, they think they're going to be the one. But I reminded him perhaps he's the mug for allowing his daughter to do that under his roof and giving that example. And they were staying the night every weekend, these chaps, and he was allowing that. So the fault lied with him because he couldn't be man enough to be the father she needed. He was allowing all this stuff to go on in his house. He was the one, he was actually the root of that rotten core, that behaviour. And I see this a lot now. What's being normalised is quite incredible. And I've always said, when a society goes down the route of moral degradation, it's easy to conquer. Because in a way, it's already conquered. Once it hasn't got any meaningful values anymore, it's already conquered. And what I like about a lot of these young guys reaching out to me is they want their generation to be different. They want to be different. They can feel the harm it's doing them. And they have a lack of male role models now. They do. They just haven't got them. I meet some fathers that are fantastic. They've achieved some amazing things in their life. And that may even just be being an amazing father. So that gives me a lot of hope. There's still some great fathers out there. But I do remember talking to Peter Simmons, the Special Forces guy from World War II. I went round there one night as a young man. I can't remember how I was. Maybe I was late teens. And he said to me, "I feel sorry for your generation." He said, "You guys love your fathers, but you certainly don't want to be like them, do you?" He said, "In my generation, we had real role models. We wanted to be like our fathers. We wanted to be like the men around us." And you said, "You haven't got that anymore." That hit me really hard because I was raised without a father. I had an abusive stepfather, but that hit me really hard. And a lot of guys I've spoken to about that have said that was like a gut punch to them to hear that, because it reminded them of what they weren't doing and some of their failings. And ultimately, guys, this will be your legacy. So many guys think their legacy is going to be their bank balance and how much money they have. But that legacy will just die on the day of your funeral. Your legacy will be what your children think of you, how you raise them, the character you develop within yourself mainly. And you can take that into any ambition, any career you want. So there's 3 pillars of legacy, which I'm going to speak about in another video. But for now, I want to talk about this discipline that we need, the self-discipline, which isn't just to go chasing your dreams, but it's a way to uncover your actual identity. Self-discipline is identity. It opens up so much for you. And I think people don't realise that. They just look at self-discipline as going without, having to suffer. But actually, the going without and the suffering comes through a life without self-discipline. And it's also worth mentioning here, well, what's the difference between self-discipline and discipline? And I think it's important to understand that. Because a lot of young men, they said to me, they've had to go to school, they've had to go to college, they don't like it, but they have to do the lessons. That's discipline. That's where someone's telling you to do something. It can be your parents, it could be a teacher, it's like the army drill sergeant saying, "Get out of your beds and go for a run." That's somebody telling you what to do in order for you to take action. Self-discipline is the professional game. It's where you decide what you're going to do and you have to take responsibility for all your words and actions. So it's the professional game, self-discipline. We all go through discipline to start with, but at some point we need to take on the higher realm of self-discipline, where we take on all the responsibility, all the inspiration, all the reasons why onto our own shoulders. And it's a completely different level. So the younger you do this, the better. I mean, any man can start to do this tomorrow. He can. But obviously the older he is and the more conditioned he is, the less likely he's going to be able to do this because he's just stuck in his ways. So you've got to have a really compelling why in order to do that. And that may be quite obvious when you sit down and think about it. It could be the relationship with your children has gone wrong, whether the relationship with your other half has gone wrong. It could be the vice and the addictions you're now indulging. Because age has always been given a reason not to do things. Well, I'm this time of life now, I can enjoy it. And that's just an excuse just to keep indulging things that you know are doing you harm. So you have to have a really compelling why, a really strong reason to do it. But for young men, I want to tell them now, start as early as you can. It is not normal to go out drinking with your friends and get paralytic drunk every week. It's not normal. Don't believe the lies you've been told in society is telling you it's okay to do. It's not normal for girls to have multiple sexual partners before they get married. These are all things you've been told and our moral degraded society is now encouraging you to do. None of it's actually true. Recreational drugs, whatever it may be. This idea, those vices have been given the idea of freedom connected to them. And there's no freedom in it. It will just make you feel rotten. It will make you feel empty. And I know the real fear is having to stand on your own. That's not fitting in. That's okay. The whole idea here is to not be like the masses. I think it was Marcus Aurelius that said, if you find yourself on the side of the masses, you need to stop and rethink. It was something like that. Because the masses will always be the brainwashed sheep. I know that sounds rude to say that, but it's just the way it is. People will always conform as a group. They will always have that fear-based movement as a group. If you want to step out of that, you're going to have to set your own rules. You're going to have to set your own boundaries. So the sooner in life you establish self-discipline, the better. And if you're still going to school, you're going to college, do something outside of that you have to decide you have to do, that you do for yourself, for your character, for your health, for your well-being, your mindset that's going to take you forward in life. Decide to do that now, and you'll just dominate when you're older. You will do. So it's really important the earlier you get into it, the better. Because if you're going to keep going on massive drinking sprees and eating rubbish food and doing what everybody else is doing, then you might actually end up doing that all your life. And I know people think, well, I'll do that when I'm young and then I'll come out of it. But you're building your character when you're young. That's who you're building. That's who you're going to become. Yes, you hear stories of people that turn their lives around, but they are the minority because they haven't established self-discipline early in life. So it doesn't tend to last very long. And if your fathers out there, we're kind of like part of an audience now, watching the demise of our own culture, watching the fall of our own children, letting them get involved in stuff that is not healthy, that is not good for them. Whether it's hours of gaming, obsessive gaming, and you should see the data on the testosterone levels and what this is doing to those young boys and their hormone levels in their brains. I will cover this as we go forward because I really want to get into this, because once you can see the science behind it, you won't be so keen to just observe from afar what your sons and daughters are doing. So it's really important as a father, as a man, to be the example that they need. I know everyone says this, we've spoken about it a lot, but how many guys are actually doing it? The best gift you can give your children is to be the example they need. They're waiting to follow you. They're waiting for you to lead them. So you need to be able to lead yourself first. You need to stop and look at what you're doing. And if you really are the role model that they need. Because like that father was just watching with amusement his daughter bringing back a different guy every weekend to stay the night, ultimately that will turn on him. Because when she's older, no doubt she will turn around and say, why did you let me do that? Why did you allow that? She's going to know the truth. Nobody gets away with anything. We think they do, but they don't. So be the example. You're not there to be your children's friend. You're not there to be a buddy. You're there to raise them. And you're there to show them the way to live when you are no longer around. That's the most important thing. Because if you can't do it, these young men will go elsewhere to look for mentorship. Whether it's YouTube, some influencer, a gang possibly, or some other man. So do your duty. Raise your sons well. And for all the young men out there, look to stand apart. There's strength in standing apart. There will be fear because you will get judged. I remember it. When I was 15, 16, I seriously got into training. Everybody asked me out to come and get drunk. And in my day, we didn't do it quite so much. Wasn't so normalised. If we had a 16-year-old boy getting drunk all the time, we'd consider him to have issues. Now it's been normalised. It's normalised, which is just crazy. And it's part of the irresponsibility of our culture. But it is hard. I remember it. I remember people trying to get me to come to parties. I didn't really want to go. I had a careful aim on what I wanted to achieve in life, where I wanted my training to go. And that became so big. And you know what happens is when you go to the right places, you're going to get loads of guys around you who are like-minded. This is the importance of a brotherhood. A brotherhood of men that don't want to go out and get drunk every night, don't want to take recreational drugs. They're not just addicted to gaming and porn all the time, but they want something more. So you may have to find them. You may have to look for that brotherhood, and you may have to go to the places where those sorts of men hang out. Because believe me, they're not the guys that want to do something with their life, the guys that want to forge a strong character. They're down the gym. They might be doing CrossFit. They might be at the Muay Thai workout class. They might be in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. They might be in Judo. They might even be around, if you have faith, they might be around a religious community. Very, very common. So look elsewhere and you'll find a tribe that will suit you. And that is how you stand out.